Emil Guillermo. Emil Amok to you. Welcome to my Takeout, my Emil Amok Takeout. A quick Emil Amok Takeout today. I'll be back on Halloween on Friday talking with Professor Daniel Phil Gonzalez about the news, as we usually do on Fridays. But today I want to mention that next week on November 5th, Professor Dan and I will be live at the main library, the San Francisco Public Library, 100 Larkin Street, on the third floor at the Hormel Center. It's free. At 5:30 we'll be there. We'll talk about it's a Filipino American history postmortem. We're going to talk about our assessment of what Filipino American history is like now, because Filipinos have been in America now since 1587. I mean, is that the first time, right? Pedro de Unamuno, when he came here sailing for Spain, but the first people to step foot in land were Filipino deckhands on October 18th. And since then, our relationship has changed. We've been colonized, we've been brutalized, we've been brought in, we've been imported, deported. And I think most people don't know some of the basics of Filipino American history. And so, we spent most of October talking about the basics, but now Dan and I are going to talk about what it means to be Filipino American now in 2025. We do this post-mortem, and Dan is, he's really a historic Filipino American figure because he was there at San Francisco State when the original strikers at San Francisco State went on to become a professor. He's now Professor Emeritus, Asian American Studies, Filipino American Studies. We talk about not the stuff that happened in the Philippines. So we'll touch on the stuff that happened here in America in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. But we want to talk about what it means now to the Filipino American population 2025 and how Americans should view the Filipino Americans here now and the history. And I think it's going to be interesting. This postmortem with Professor Dan and myself, Public Library, San Francisco. It's free, 100 Larkin Street, the Hormel Center, the third floor. 5:30 till about 7 o'clock or so, we'll have Q&A, of course. You can ask us questions, and we'll talk about the news. We'll talk about what's going on post-election. I assume we'll know about Prop 50. I'm standing in front of my Benny Agbayani jersey because he was number 50 for the Mets. Probably the best Filipino-American position player in baseball in the last 20, 30 years. I mean, Linskin was a pitcher, but Benny Agbayani, he was a slugger for the Mets for a brief period. Anyway, my assessment. But we will talk about this postmortem, November 5th. Go there. It's free. San Francisco Public Library, me and Professor Dan. And we'll talk a lot. I mean, like today, the big news, Trump is back. And did he mention the Philippines once? Did he once mention? I don't think he mentioned Taiwan once. He was all talking about trade. It seemed like a meeting between Xi and Trump that they had a couple of years ago. It seemed like the same kind of thing, sort of like status quo, except that Trump was a lot nicer in terms of trade. Trump, who envies Xi so much because Trump he'd kill to be president for life, like President Xi of China. But, and so as flattering as the Chinese were to him, or as other Asians were to Trump during this visit, Trump was equally as flattering on the way out, saying, hey, that meeting was on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 12. It was a 12. Even though I began it by threatening to test nuclear weapons. Yeah, I mean, it's complex. I mean, it was all about trade, and I guess maybe there's going to be some adjustment, especially for the soybean farmers. What it means to everyday Americans, well, it's probably going to mean little, because although some tariffs were adjusted, you know what that means. Tariffs are not costs or expenses imposed on the country. The people who pay for those extra tariffs, or for any tariffs at all, are the consumers, are the end user of the product that gets imported. So, it's about, as they said in Washington when I was there, it was a big dog and pony show. with a lot at stake, and the most important things weren't even discussed. Was Taiwan even mentioned once? I don't think so. I don't think I heard that. Was the Philippines mentioned once? Was China's involvement or its visions of an expansion into the South China West Philippine Sea, was that even talked about? The idea of what is sovereign, that's going to be an issue, because we have, if Trump is backing Russia and the attempts to gain land in Ukraine, a sovereign nation. Well, what happens when a sovereign nation like the Philippines is under attack by China? The Philippines had to play it real safe. They hardly said anything, right? I mean, in the ASEAN, they didn't get any mention at all in the news. It was all Trump and Xi. That was a big thing. Let's see what happens in terms of any, the next step. Will they talk about Taiwan? When will they talk about the Philippines? That's the meeting that we pay attention to. Anyway, Filipino American history is a complicated thing. Professor Dan and I talk about it on November 5th, next Wednesday. San Francisco Public Library, main library, 100 Larkin Street, 3rd floor of the Hormel Center. One of the things that we'll get into is, what is Filipino American now in 2025? We're going to learn this history. Most Americans don't know this history, and most Filipinos don't know this history, because many came over post 2000, young people. They didn't, if they studied anything, they may have studied STEM or math or something like that. Did they study Filipino history? Most of them know. Some, but it's a new generation, and how they view it is going to determine really the next 20, 25 years, how people perceive Filipino Americans. So it's an ongoing thing. I'm interested to see what Dan has to say. I mean, we've talked about this, Dan and I, for years. And, I've known Dan Gonzalez since the 80s, the 70s, right? I mean, we have lived through a part of the history as we tried to move the history in our various endeavors, in our various, our areas of influence, journalism, academia. Not easy to make an impact. We make the impact that we have and keep trying. But what is the next generation's perception of history? Is it still back in the 30s and 40s, or are we looking at things that happened in the 2000s? You see, and if the door has always been shut, there is a limited amount of history that we could be impactful on. A limited amount. And we'll talk about some of those. We did what we could. But I think right now, and I mentioned this to Dan, because there has been ethnic studies, there are people who are aware of the history, and they are moving on. They're looking at people like Rob Bonta. He's the Attorney General of California. They're looking at what Filipino Americans are doing now in these contemporary times, and looking to see, how does this impact history going forward, Filipino American history going forward. So there's a lot of interesting things to get into. We'll talk about that, Dan and I, and we'll also we'll talk about the news, the elections, what happened. I'm sure we'll get some sense of New Jersey, Virginia, the gerrymandering, nonsense. I mean, I say nonsense because why? Gerrymandering is bad, but the Democrats in California are trying to use it as a positive example to fight back, and that's how perverted our politics has become. We have to suspend an independent sense of how we redistrict in order to fight back. In the way things are being played in national politics today. So California will have a major role in Prop 50 tomorrow. The no's have pretty much bailed out. So it would appear that the yeses will win. So we'll talk about that on November 5th. All right, so much to talk about there. So I want to mention that. And then while I have you, November 5th, after November 5th, I want to talk to you about my show that I do at the Marsh. I'm live November 19th, a Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Go to themarsh.org and get tickets. It's the one-man show I do. I did on stage in Canada over the summer. You might have heard me talk about it, but I'm here in America now, and I'm doing my one-man show, and it's changed. It's changed. Darn it, it's changed. I mean, because nothing stays the same in these spoken word one-man shows that I do, and I'm doing it at the Marsh in San Francisco, 1062 Valencia Street, November 19th, 7:30 p.m. So check it out. Get your tickets at themarsh.org. One night only in San Francisco's Marsh, 1062 Valencia. Tell your friends, take this video, ship it over to your friends, say, hey, let's go see Emil. Let's buy a ticket and see Emil. It's a test. Can Filipinos buy tickets? Let's see Emil. Let's see Emil on November 19th, Wednesday at the Marsh, 7:30 p.m. All right? Okay. Hey, back again tomorrow. I'll be talking about the news with Dan. But we like to end these segments with a little meditation. A little meditation. Sharon Salzberg, right? A little bit. I've got so many gurus that I've studied and learned from, and this is the loving kindness meditation. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Galero here. Till next time.